are 3 different scenarios that could happen with your username icon, and I want to lay them all out for you. The first one is going to be what happens when you just use images in Photoshop. Number 2 is going to be when you use Photoshop but then add text in Illustrator. And then the last one is just going to be Illustrator. So depending on what you need for your project, for your username icon, you can go ahead and fast forward to that section of this video. So starting off in Photoshop, we're going to go ahead and download our username icon template. And I'm just going to work with the images. So you can take backgrounds away, you can just slide images over. So for this, I'm just going to go ahead and bring this here and then adjust it to fit the artboard. Okay, this is very simple. You could build on this too, so you could add more pictures if you wanted to, but if you're just going to have one image, go ahead and stick with that. Save it as a Photoshop file and then export it as a ping and have that ping ready to go. Now, if you are doing the username icon, most likely you are also doing, I believe it's the Instagram post. So under this assignment, when you go to turn in your 2 pings, one for the post and one for the user icon, you're going to have 2 submissions for this assignment rather than just the one. And that's going to be for any of the different scenarios that you're creating. All right, now let's talk about scenario 2. This is a situation where you are using an image. So you have your Photoshop image open. You know that you're going to use it. Make sure that your images are always centered. Okay. And from here, if I was just using Photoshop, I would save it and export it. But I'm going to do that. I'm going to save it, and then I'm going to export it. I put my name on the file. But in this scenario, I'm going to add text to it. So I'm going to take it into the Illustrator template. So I'm going to go back to Canvas, and I'm going to come down here and I'm going to download that username icon template for Illustrator. Here I'm going to go ahead and place the ping that I just made. And I'm going to stretch it all the way out and get it nice and centered with the artboard. Centering is very important for this because this is going to be going into the circle of the mock-up, so we definitely want to make sure that it's centered. You can test this by adding guidelines. Hold your ruler down, go to 2.5 and go to 2.5. And then when you click on this, make sure those anchor points, those white anchor points, are along the blue lines. So that tells you right away that this is centered. Lock this layer and then make a new layer for the text that you're going to add. So I'm going to use my text. I'm actually going to create a text box. This is the safe area for your text, so make sure it stays within the inside box. And I'm just going to add my initials. I'm going to increase to, I'm going to try 250. Too big. Let's go to 220. Okay. And now that I have those guidelines, I am able to use them again to make sure that the box is centered. Okay, that looks good. Now this is ready to go, so I'm going to go ahead and save as. Make sure you save it as an Illustrator file, and then you're going to export it as a ping. Remember, I said in the beginning, if you are doing the Instagram post and the user icon, then you are going to definitely need to make sure to submit both of them for this assignment. Last scenario. This is the scenario where you are not going to be using any images. You're going to be strictly using text and maybe a background color. So your background should start along these red lines. I'm going to make this white. Well, actually let's color it something else. Okay. All right. And that would be how you would use Illustrator. You can be very crafty with your text. You can, anytime you're in Illustrator, you could manipulate this. You can rotate, change the angle of your text. You could have a combination of the two typefaces. You're going to save it as an Illustrator file, and then you would export it as a PNG. Make sure you add your name to the file so you have the original. And then that's going to be ready for the mock-up when we are in the last step of the project.